Hi, Sarah Sayers here from Kids Creative. I'm from Surrey in the UK, and today I want to share with you a little fun pop-up Bendy fold surprise card. Something like that anyway. But let's get down and let's get crafting and you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, let's do it. There we go. Let's get some light on the subject. Okay, so let's get that a bit straighter. Right, so the card that I'm going to show you today is this one here. It's using a brand new stamp set called Queen Bee, and when you take off the lovely belly band and you pop it open, you have this lovely Queen Bee, but when you pop it up or fold it in the right direction, it pops up and you've got this lovely bendy card that will then sit there, beautifully display your lovely little Queen Bee. So how cute is that? So let me show you how I made it. Pop that back onto there. So I've pre-cut all the pieces. All the measurements are in the blog post, so you'll be able to see exactly all the measurements and how I've done this. So I'm just going to pull this out. This is the base card here. Put all those pieces to one side. As you can see, it's 20 by 14 centimetres and I've scored it at 5, 10 and 15 centimetres. So the first thing you want to do is form a gatefold card. So how I tend to do this is to fold over one section and burnish, and then turn it round and then make sure that that gatefold meets nicely in the middle, and then burnish the other side just in case it's slightly out. Sometimes you can just be slightly thicker on one side than the other. And then the centre score, we're just going to gently fold outwards. I'm not going to burnish it because I don't want it to be too prominent. I want the card to sort of sit and stand like so. So there we go. We have 4 pieces of DSP. This is from the Celebrate Everything DSP. It's a great big bumper pack, and you can still grab that right now. Let's take some glue, and the first thing I do is actually I cut these in order, and what I try and do is just slightly pattern match everything. As you can see, they sort of all look, that was very luck better than judgment, but they sort of look like they're working. That one's perhaps a little bit out, so perhaps pop that on the other end. That's not working as well, so I'm liking it that way better. I cut lots of these for a class, so might not all automatically all match, but when you do it I'm sure you will. So I'm just going to start on the left and work across to the right, and again the measurements for these are all in the blog. It's unusual for me to start with the inside of the card, but I think that works better in this instance. I made this card on a Facebook Live or a similar layout earlier in the week for a New Year's card, and I'll show you that at the end if I can find it. You've got boundless options with this suite, so with this card, sorry. Got a little tiny bit of glue on there. I'll just rub that off. It's going to get hidden in a second anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. If you've got a repeating pattern, you might want to use, as you can see, there are gaps, so it doesn't matter absolutely if they're all matching. But if you've got a repeat pattern, it's just worth considering how the order of those. But I think that looks fantastic. They're not too out, so it doesn't jar with your eye. So they're all down. Just going to give those a quick flatten with my bone folder so they're nice and flat. Okay, so then we've got the bendy element. Again, the measurements are in the blog, but I've scored at 1 centimetre at each end, and I'm just going to fold those backwards, and this is going to create the bendy element. You don't necessarily want to score to burnish them. I've just bent them back gently because you want this to pop, and that should just fit in nicely just between those two edge pieces of DSP. So that's going to fold there. So, oh, hold it for a second just for the glue to get off. It's really important these bits are all stuck down nice and secure. So there you go. When you bend that piece back there, it's just going to bend forward. So there's your bendy element, and you could pop all sorts on there just as it is, but I wanted to create a little bit more pop on there. So this is the pop-up element. I've scored this, and again the scoring measurements are in the blog post, and you're just going to create this sort of what I call a sort of tabletop look. So it's valley fold, mountain fold, mountain fold, valley fold. So it creates this pop-up element. And trying to keep this bit together here, what you're going to do is just add a little bit of glue to the back. And if you notice, I haven't actually put it all over, then it allows me to get my nail in there. And what you want to do is this central fold here, you just want to make sure that that's sitting on that crease line in the middle. Then again, we'll just hold that for a few seconds just to let that glue go off. And then when that has gone, you'll get this will naturally just spring up a little bit. Just want to make sure that those pieces have definitely stuck down. Just giving those a bone fold so they'll naturally just have a little bit of a lift. And it's just that little bit of lift is all you need. So when you pop it forward, it really does spring up. So it's almost like a floating element. Right, okay, so the next bit we're going to do is we're going to stamp our lovely little bee. Here he is. And I'm just going to do this in black memento. If you're nervous about stamping this straight onto the paper, you could obviously use your Stamparatus and get this perfectly done. But I've just got a nice juicy memento, so I'm quite happy with how that's stamped. So pop that over there. And then we're going to give our little bee a colour. I haven't got a name for my bee yet. She's Queenie. Maybe we could call her Elizabeth or Lizzie. We'll see how. See what everyone thinks. So I'm just going to colour. I'm not going to colour the ends. I'm just going to add a bit of yellow. I'm not too worried about how it all goes. I'm leaving the centre white. Again, just to help it pop. And I always forget one of the flowers, so I will. You can shout down the video at me. There we go, just little strokes. That's that little one there as well. And then on this side. So just little strokes just to colour it in. You don't have to colour every area. It's very popular at the moment to just add a hint of colour, sort of in an illustrative way. I can't really say that very well, but there you go. So that's just adding a nice splash of colour, and then we can colour these flowers here again. This time I'm sort of colouring the whole element, but it doesn't take an awful lot of effort. But I'm leaving those white centre pieces, so it helps to pop it. You could colour these orange or another colour. I just didn't want to introduce another blend at this point. I just felt that it had enough. And then I'm going to colour the little bee centre heart in yellow as well. So let's do the leaves next. Again, there's quite a few of them. Takes a little while, but definitely worth the effort. And I'm sure, again, I will probably forget one, but that's fine. Always happens. And just lightly colour. You don't want to add lots of colour in there. I think that's all of them. I'm just checking all the way around. I think that's it. And then on here you've got 2 leaves on the side on the second row, and then 1 on the bottom row, and it just helps to balance out that colour. Really love it. Next I'm going to just add a little tiny splash of Wink of Stella into the centre of those flowers, and then on the heart Just again, just adds a little bit of interest and just helps those little white centres to pop. And it's a great way to share a different dynamic. I'm just adding a little bit more to that central bee. Right, now for the other elements on this card, we've got, we're going to mount this onto this square of crushed curry. I have a die for the bee here. I'm just going to pop on top. Makes life so much easier than trying to fussy cut this particular one out. And you'll notice that there are some little pilot holes here, and what I'm trying to do is just be able to see in those holes where the ends of the feet are, and then that should be perfect. And then we've got a square, oh no, not a square, yeah, a square, sorry, I didn't get another piece of paper, there we go. And then we're going to mount that onto there. So I'm going to die cut these pieces. Now again, you could use anything you wanted to create the pop-up elements. Someone's feeling unwell, or you've got a birthday, you can pop some candles or some hearts, or it'd be lovely for a wedding card. It really is a great versatile fun fold. So here we go, we've got our cute little bee and our little topper. Pop those scraps away. And then let's decorate our backing here. So I'm going to take, I've got this lovely script from the stamp set. Let me just quickly show you that. I've used quite a lot of the stamps in this Queen Bee set, but I'm using this lovely sort of vintage script, and I'm going to take some crumb cake. Again, I'm only using 2 colours here just to keep things very simple. And what you can do is ink it up, and then you're going to stamp, and then stamp off, and then stamp again, and then perhaps go in again, and just fill all the space with script. You don't even have to be that straight, just cover it up so it looks nice and sort of grungy. Next I'm going to go in with some crushed curry, and I'm going to pop again just some dots on here just to create a bit of a grungy effect. Just going in separate different places. Don't be afraid to sort of move your paper around so you can add some nice texture. I'm liking that now, so that's really good. I think that works. Move these to one side. We're going to use them again later for the front panel. So I'm just going to pop our little topper down on this layer of crushed curry. Once again, all the measurements are in the blog, so it's worth just cutting them out first, and you can work through the video. It makes it much easier to follow. I find, as they say, preparation is key. So now we've got our little bee, and what I'm going to do is take some 2 stamping dimensionals. These are black, doesn't really matter in this case because they're going to be completely hidden. I'm going to pop 1 in each wing, and then just add a little bit of glue, or you could use tape down the centre. Pop that over, and then let's pop our little bee at a bit of an angle. Press down where the glue is, and then you'll naturally get the wings raised. And I just think that adds a nice little layer of fun and gives it a bit of a 3-dimensional look. And you can still see all that lovely sort of mixed media look at the bottom. I really like that. Right, let's apply that to our card. So the easiest way to do this is to add some glue to this floating element, and then you can pop your bee on top. Again, it's just worth just holding it for a second just to give it time for the glue to go off. Or if you're using, I would suggest that for this part you use Seal Plus if you're a tape person. And then just let's give that a test at the end now. Look at that, how that springs open. and just having that bit on the top just takes it away. If you stuck it to this bendy bit here, it would want to bend as well. So by having that little popper bit on it, it just gives it a really lovely 3D look. So that's our insides done. Let's do the outsides. So just for a bit of contrast, I've taken 2 pieces of So Saffron card, and now I'm going to add a little bit of colour. So again, back to our 2 basic colours of crushed curry and crumb cake. I'm just going to take my blending brush, dab off any excess, and just go round the outsides. With this one, it doesn't really matter if it's too neat. I sort of quite like the quite rustic nature of having the brush strokes on there. And once it's embossed, you'll be amazed how much it all blends together. So we've got that lovely yellow all the way around. Let's do the same on the other piece. All the way around, so you've got that lovely sort of vignette style. Just going to blend that out to make sure it's nicely blended, and then let's add a little bit of depth to help it pop with some crumb cake. So I'm just going to go in a lot gentler with this. This is just going to add a little bit of sort of deeper vignette look to it. It's a technique that's been around for a while, but it really does always pack a punch. Just add a little bit more down the edge. There we go. Don't be afraid to keep going back. It's better to add a little bit than a lot and regret what you've done. So there we go. And it's very subtle, this element, but it's amazing once you sort of stand back and look at it, what a difference it makes. There we go. Fantastic. Okay. Next I'm going to grab the Hive 3D embossing folder. Move those blending brushes out the way, we don't need those anymore. Again, you could use the same paper on the front. I did that on Monday, but I just thought this would be fun in our class. Lay them next to each other, not on top of each other, but now you're going to get the pattern repeating all the way through. And again, you want the Stampin' Up emblem at the front. Let's pop that through the embossing machine. And you get this lovely effect. Isn't that beautiful? Let's pop those onto the front of the card. This is where your glue is really useful. Now, when you emboss it, it will change the shape slightly of it. What you want to do is make sure that if it's got a bit wider, or shorter in this case, that you're making sure it's central. And then on the other side, pop it down when the card is closed, so that you can make sure that it's all level. And that's what you really want. There we go. There's our card. How cute is that? Okay, right, that's our outside done. Now for the belly band. So take your strip of crushed curry, and then what we're going to do is put your finger just where the edge of the score line is on the card and bend it round. You don't need to burnish at this point. What you want to do is sort of bend it round the card gently, and it should give you enough give to slide it on and off once you've pressed it down. You've got a little overlap, so just add some glue, just being very careful to stay within that area. You don't want to seal your card shut and then pop that down. So at the moment that looks a little bit untidy, so I'm just going to pop a block on there while I grab some more. This is another design from the Celebrate Everything paper. It's got gulls on the back, but it's lovely stripes on the front, which I think works really well with this card. It's so cute. And then we can cover that element up on the front, and that takes away from those little edges, but we're going to cover it up anyway. But I just think it neatens everything up and makes it look fun. Okay, let's create a topper to go on there. So on the front, we're going to take another piece of basic, of the 2 pieces of basic white. We've got a little scrap of crushed curry, a little piece of black, basic black, and some granny apple green. We're going to cut a lovely leaf shape. I've used the same size of basic white, so it doesn't really matter, but you can just fit the second biggest stylish shape circle on there, and then the label from the dies from the honey bee dies. Yeah, queen bee dies, sorry. There we go. So we're using lots of the dies. So cute. And then for the last 2 pieces, we're going to pop the detailed bee onto the black, and then the more open bee onto the crushed curry. Right, let's die cut those now. And you can die cut these all at the same time if you feel comfortable with doing so. They will all fit onto your machine at the same time. Just give them plenty of space around them, and make sure nothing is moving. If you're not confident of doing this step, just add a little bit of tape to each of the dies, and that will just help keep them in place. I use Scotch repositionable tape, that's a really good one, but there are other brands available. There we go, it's all our die cutting done. So we can pull out this little element here. How cute is that? So detailed. And it's got this lovely little embossed element in the centre, which is really cute. Our bee is just still in the die, but if you just use the pilot holes at the top and bottom, pushes out really easily, and then you can pop out all those other elements with your take your pick tool, and then use the brush end just to take out any bits from your die, so it's there to use again. Move all the other elements. Got a circle, and then pop all your dies away so you don't lose them. I usually use a metallic tray, but I haven't got it with me today. Right, first thing we're going to do is just glue that bee together so it's got time to go off. So just a little tiny little bit of glue, north, south, east, west on the body, and then that will just pop down on top, and they perfectly fit. You've got your little bee. So put that to one side. Now we're going to take our topper, and we're going to repeat the same pattern that we did on the inside. I do love creating continuity from front onto the inside. You don't have to worry which direction this is going in, it's round, so just try and keep all your elements horizontal and you should be fine. Just making sure I've covered every area. Again, go back to that yellow, lovely crushed curry, and then you can pop some dots in. Again, use repeat stamping to create different layers of colour. There we go. That looks really pretty. I'm going to take a tiny bit of glue here onto that centerpiece and just pop that into the middle there, and we're done. Now I'm going to take some of the lovely check gingham and create a little faux bow. So I'm just going to fold this backwards and forwards again. You can just do it off the roll if that works for you. It doesn't matter how big it is, but I've just tried to make it so it's slightly inside of the leaf pattern there, and I'm just going to use a bit of tear tape, and I'm going to pop it across the bow and just hold it down with that. It's going to be held down by the label in a second, so that's really just a holding piece, but just to help it, I'm just going to take this piece off and then just tuck that bit back so it's nothing going to show on the label. There we go. And that holds it nice and steady. Let's create our happy birthday. So we've got two separate stamps here. Again, if you're feeling nervous about it, you might want to use a Stamparatus. I'm going to wing it. You've got the happy at the top. And the birthday at the bottom. And then we'll add a couple of dimensionals. You want to make sure that you've got a good one right at the bottom there, but let's add 3 just to be sure. 1 at each end and 1 in the middle for luck. We don't want any saggy middles, do we? There we go. And then we can pop that onto our topper, and then that just covers up that tape there and then across. I'm just making sure that it's all nice and straight with that script. There we go, there's our topper. Now we can add that to the card. So I'm just going to pop a straight line. I'm not going to go up and down too much because I just want to make sure I've got it in the right place, and just line that up on the front of your card. Just give that a nice little squish so it's nice and straight. And the last thing we're going to do is just add our little bee. And I've gone a bit lower with this one, so on the last one we went at the bottom. This time I'm just going to go at the top. You can do whatever you want. It just adds a little bit of detail. I felt this didn't need any embellishments, but you could certainly add some matte black dots or anything you fancy. But there's your finished card, and obviously let's test it out. That belly band comes off beautifully, and then you've got your little pop-up bendy element in the middle. Hope you enjoyed this card. And feel free, I would love it if you left some comments on my blog telling me how you got on. I did promise I would show you the other card I made. Have I got it handy? Have I got it handy? I don't think so. Sorry about that. But you can look back to Monday's blog, and I will post underneath here. Here it is. Found it. Here we go. So here's another version. Hooray! And then hello 2023. And again, when that pops up, you sometimes just need to give it a helping hand to start with, but it really is so cute. So there you go. There's another option. This one I've used squares, and I've used all the stylish shapes just to create almost like a countdown sort of checker, countdown circles, like a bullseye. So there's lots of different options you can use for your toppers, as I said, but I think this is just such a fun, cute fun fold. So thank you very much for watching me. Hope you enjoy making it, and whatever you do, don't forget, just keep crafting. Bye.